don't buy this. Instead, buy this. Most people, when they get qualified or they just want to buy a house, go for this. This is not maybe your dream house, but it's a house that you're like telling yourself you need. You need 4 bedrooms. You need 2.5 bathrooms. You need a big yard. You need a pool, right? You're going to tell yourself that you need all these things. And let's face it, the agent and the lenders aren't going to say no to you, because the higher the price point, the more money they make. Now, here's the thing with this option. This is nice, but your budget will be stretched. Let's face it. Right now, interest rates are high. It's a very difficult time to buy, and everybody's hoping for rates to drop. But that might not happen anytime soon. If it's not very stretched, it feels like you're paying too much for it. Okay? Let me offer an alternative option. So let's get this kind of throw it aside there for a bit. Let's talk about what this is. Now, this comes with some challenges. Don't get me wrong. This could be a condo. It could be a smaller house. It could be maybe a place that's not in the best part of town or doesn't have all the features you're looking for. But this can turn into a great opportunity for you in the future. Let me share with you a comment I received by someone who inspired me to make this video. At Student Loan Chit Chat said, "This is how a single school teacher who created a cake business using her savings with no debt, living in a paid off 840 square feet condo, 110,000 student loan forgiven through PSLF, is in a better shape than a guy living in $1 million home." But sadly, most people will envy the guy with the $1 million home. I could have bought a $300,000 home in 2020 and chose not to. I bought a $100,000 condo and paid it off in less than 3 years. Today, I can pay off all my bills in one check, and starting in January, 30% of my take-home income will go into retirement. Now you might be thinking, well, that she bought a place in 2020. Of course, everyone who bought in 2020 can just pay off their place like that. No. What if I were to tell you that this is still possible? With a lot of hard work and some sacrifices, it's still possible. And I'm going to show you how to do it in today's video. Now, you can poke holes in it, and it might not be the perfect scenario that fits everybody's situation, but I want to give you an alternative approach to finding an affordable house, and an alternative approach to actually use real estate to help, like, have the real estate work for you instead of having the real estate work you, which is what's happening right now. Let's say there's a situation where we have 2 people working and combined, they're grossing approximately $117,000. That means their gross monthly income is about $9,000. Approximately, their net income is about $97,500 a year and $7,500 a month. Let's assume these folks have zero debt. They have a really good budget set up. So they went to go and talk to their lender, and guess what? Good news. They qualified up to $4,500. Why is this? Because they can get your gross monthly income and get half of it, or 50%. And since they have no debt, that's literally what they qualify for. So with $4,500, they qualify easily $600,000, $700,000. But they say, you know what? We're smart. We're watching the real estate YouTube. They're telling us not to go crazy. So let's go buy a $450,000 or $500,000 home instead, because we're doing things the right way. So that price range gets them a monthly payment of, let's say, an estimate $3,000 to $3,500, around there. So that feels okay for them. They're like, yeah, we still got plenty of money left, and they go and they buy a house. But here's the problem with this. At $3,000, they're using approximately 40% of their net income, and they've just put themselves in a situation where they're now stretched. They are in a position where they're going to be locked into this house, and it's not leaving very much money left to, build out their future investments or, doing other things. So they're forced to be in a position where they either have to find alternative ways to make a little bit more money, hoping for the interest rates to drop so that way they can let tension kind of loosen with the lower monthly payment, or hope that their job gives them more money somehow, right? So there's all these, like, they put themselves in a position where they're at the mercy of the market or mercy of circumstances that they can't control. Now, what if instead of doing this and instead of stretching yourself with a house, they bought themselves a condo? Well, hold on. I know condos are terrible, and let's go over some cons. They have HOAs, which can affect the monthly payment, and they tell you what to do. Technically, with a condo, you don't own the actual, like, the real estate. You own the air inside your unit, and you own a percentage of everything. Like you have shared ownership of all of the condos and the common areas. So yeah, there's a lot of cons, but what if maybe it's not a condo, maybe it's a small townhouse, maybe it's a small house, maybe it's not in the specific area that you're looking for, maybe it's in the outskirts. we find a way where we can, instead of spending 450 to 500K, we spend half of that. Now, before you go and say I'm full of crap, let's see if that's possible. And we're going to use Phoenix, Arizona, because that's the MLS I have access to. Okay, so here we have the MLS. We're going to be, just to get kind of good idea, if they're looking for a house, they can get us those a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom. They have plenty of options. Like, they have 1,543 options across the valley. And remember, like I said, everyone will be happy for you. The real estate agent is going to be like, yes, because they're making money. The lender, yes. Your family will be like, yes, you finally did it. You bought the house of your dreams. But who who will not be happy? Your future self, if there ever is a financial emergency. Now, I give you this: if you cut this in half, and you're living in a metro popular area like Phoenix, yeah, it's gonna suck. There's only one house available, right? And if you want a house, you're gonna have to go like to the outskirts, far outskirts. So I get it. Maybe a single family won't work, but let's explore townhouses. 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Obviously, like I said, it's not going to be for everybody, but if you're looking for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath area, yes, you're not going to be in the suburbs. You're not going to be in like areas where you can easily get a house in, but it's possible. It's doable. Chandler, Gilbert, Tempe, Phoenix, some parts of Scottsdale. Under 250, we're able to get something. Let's say we even increase it to 300, just to kind of expand those areas a bit more. We have options. Now, why would we do this to ourselves? Why would we go buy an area that we're not really comfortable with or not having the space you want? Now, here's the thing, okay? We're doing this because we're not going to try to commit ourselves to a 30-year mortgage at a super high interest rate. We're going to try to get rid of the mortgage as fast as possible to turn our house from a money pit to an actual asset. So if you were to move forward with that $500,000 house, 10% down at a 7% interest rate with an annual property tax of about $2,500 a year, your insurance premium being about $1,400 a year, and a PMI of $100 a month, you're going to be paying approximately $34,1886 for the entire monthly payment. And if you stay in your house for 30 years without lowering your interest rate because you never refinance or whatever, you're going to be paying $627,790 of interest on your $450,000 loan. The bank wants you to stay in your house for 30 years. The bank wants you to wait for a refinance and then say, okay, refinance now, I can, live happy ever after. Because if you stay in your place for 30 years, they're making the most money from you. Even if you're lucky enough to refinance, 5 years later, they're still making money from you. $419,000 out of the $450. Yes, this is so much better if it does reduce. But let me show you another option, okay? Let's say we leave this interest rate at 7%. Let's say we buy something. Well, let's actually pick something here from what I was looking at. We'll pick out this area here. It looks like a nice little piece. $299,000, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 942 square feet. Not a bad place. Now, definitely, actually, it looks pretty decent. I wouldn't mind living here. Whitewashed cabinets, dishwasher's a little old, stove's a little old. Has potential, right? It's been on the market for 18 days, listed at 304. Let's say I can talk them down to 280. Okay, so we're buying a condo for 280. Principal is 252. Let's leave that 7% interest rate. Okay. So the thing with the condo is, yes, you're going to have HOA, but your insurance premium should be lower because your HOA covers like the roof and the AC, or not AC, but your roof and some other factors. So you should be paying less on that. The annual taxes should also be a lot more, less significant. So like this one, for example, $765 a year, not $1,400. So this should be closer to like 2.5. So that monthly payment is about $1,900. Now, here's the thing. You were willing to pay $3,500. You were willing to stretch out, even though your budget, if we go back to the budget and where it was, you make good money, right? But according to the laws of budgeting, your monthly payment should be about $24.75 if you want to be at 33% net. If you want to be like at 25% of your net income, you should really be about $18.75, right? So you're willing to stretch it all the way to $3,500, knowing that it's not where you should be for budget purposes. And if you think it's not happening, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, a lot of people that are buying right now are stretching their budget. That's the only way they could do it. And they're doing it because their lenders and their realtors are telling them that the rates are going to drop and everything will be okay. And if you don't think that's true, it's happening. I'm telling you. You were willing to pay $3,500. So what if I were to tell you, instead of being forced to pay that $3,500, you buy yourself something that's not maybe the best, but we apply that same monthly payment for a good purpose. So if you want to complete that $3,500 from $1,900, you would have to pay like $1,600 more. So let's say $1,500-ish around there. So let's say you were to apply $1,500 more a month for your monthly payment. What happens there? Well, what happens is instead of having your house for 30 years, that loan is now going to be paid off in 10 years. And now you only paid $87,000 of interest instead of, if you live there for the entire 30-year period, $351,000. Even at 5%, even let's say you were able to refinance eventually, $235,000, right? Even if things were better, you're still paying significantly less. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I caught you. You were willing to pay $3,500. Now you can actually, month to month basis, you can be like, you know what? Let's apply those extra $1,500 towards a mortgage. Here's the beautiful thing about amortization. 7% sucks. And the way they charge that is 7%. You find this out by looking at an amortization calculator. By the way, this one's my calculator, available on my Patreon. I still haven't quite worked out the bonus payment thing. I'm still figuring things out. So that's why I'm using this bank rate one. But it's a work in progress. But anyways, the way it works is they figure out your interest based off your current balance. And the problem is when you have a high interest mortgage, you literally start your first payment paying 78% of your payment for the interest. So your payment's always the same. Like in this case, $1,352.79. But what happens is your interest rate slowly gets reduced because technically your principal, because remember, it's always that same, it's going to be the difference between the interest and the payment. Your principal is only a very small fraction, about 22% of the payment. And that is barely lowering the balance. So your interest is barely lowering because that balance is barely lowering, right? Now, here's the beautiful thing. Yes, 7% sucks, and that's why it's making your monthly payment so high. But if you pay an extra $1,000 a month, right, they're not charging you 7% interest on those extra $1,000. That's going straight to pay the balance down. So here, if I put $1,500 here, now we see the balance is dropping. The balance is dropping a lot more aggressively. Therefore, the interest is dropping a lot aggressively. The principal is growing, and everything. It just works out, and it basically. You're still paying, it's still difficult to accomplish, but the bank is not making hundreds of thousands of dollars from you no more. If you do this right and you're consistent with it, you'll have your place paid off in 10 years. If you can really get obsessed about it and find a way to put every single extra fund you have in there, you can pay it off less than 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, even like the teacher that I showed you earlier, 3 years, 4 years. It's possible. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it makes sense for a lot of people to do this, but let's say you pay off in 10 years. Now you have an actual place that you can turn into a rental, and that's pure profit for you. Or you're mortgage free and you're welcome to use those $2,000, $3,000 and build your investment now, build out your portfolio, build out your retirement, go buy another house if you want, you're much better position than someone who just went to go buy that dream house, put themselves in a high mortgage situation, and they're praying that the market conditions change for them to actually get some relief. Okay, I'm telling you this not just as someone who is passionate about affordable housing and using real estate as a tool to help you regardless of the market. I'm telling you someone someone who made this mistake. I was one of those dummies that all I did was buy my own house. I never bought any other piece of real estate. I think I bought one like a few years ago, but I've owned 5 or 6 houses, but all I've done is sold and I bought another one, sold and I bought another one. In hindsight, man, if I would have just really got my crap together, I could have paid that first one off and then have that still be a rental and move to my next one. Really focus and pay that second one off. And I could have had, instead of, like having this trail of houses behind me, I could have owned 4 or 5 houses. I made that mistake because I decided to just do the easy route, and I'm teaching you from experience. I want you to do better. I don't want you to be like, oh, the market. Yes, the market sucks and it's great. But if you can make something work now, can you imagine if the market does kind of shift, you're going to be put in a much better position. Okay. Either way, this is just a different way of thinking about it. Maybe just go check out some houses in a little bit outside of your area. Maybe go check out some smaller houses. Even if you're like, okay, maybe I'm not going to cut it in half, Javier, but let's change my home search from 500K to 350 or 400. But anyways, if you guys want to go watch the video where I talk about that person who bought $1 million house and can no longer afford it because they're self-employed, the same video where Student Loan Chit Chat commented, it's right here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I look forward to a great conversation in the comment section.